All right, welcome back to another Prospects Live 2020 MLB Draft Preview. In this video, we're talking about the Colorado Rockies. Ralph, Prospect Jesus, joining us. It's been a bit of a shoddy past here now for the last few years for the Colorado Rockies. Michael Toglia last year, obviously, jury's still out on that one. Ryan Rollison the year before that, and then you got a couple of guys in Vlade and Riley Pint. Jury's still out. They're not really developing at the pace that you want to see. But this year they're drafting a little bit higher. They've had a tough year in 2019. Is there a guy that really sticks out, or a position group that sticks out for you in this 2020 draft that you think would fit what Colorado is trying to achieve?
Yeah, it's funny because they're in a position, at 9 where they can kind of take advantage of some of these top talents that are sort of clustered there outside of the top 4 or 5 players here in the draft. We've even heard them as sort of like the absolute bottom floor for Emerson Hancock would go. Now, I don't think that's necessarily where he lands, but the two groups that I've seen them associated with have been some college bats, Patrick Bailey, Heston Kjerstad from the University of Arkansas, which I know every fantasy player out there would love to see, the power that Kjerstad has in Colorado and Coors, but also some arms as well. Cade Cavalli is an arm that I've heard rumored there. And as I mentioned before, Emerson Hancock, I think, Slade Cecconi might be a guy that makes some sense. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what direction Colorado goes here. We look back, a few years, they've made a couple of, sort of high-end, risky prep picks with Pint or Vlade. Vlade's worked out a little bit better than Pint. Pint's had some major issues. Obviously, the stuff was there coming out of the Kansas prep class at the time. And he had a ton of helium. I mean, people loved Pint in that draft. Toglia and Rollison a little bit more safe. But, they're a funny organization because as much as we sort of knock them from a development and a drafting standpoint, they do have a significant amount of their 40-man roster did come via the draft, nearly 50%. And, they have a lot of homegrown talent on the team. So I think just because of their cheapness and some of the ways that they operate, they tend to, have to go in-house in terms of resources. But I think Kjerstad's probably a name that makes sense, and Cavalli right after. The only dropper that I could see them potentially snatching onto, would be Emerson Hancock. I don't see them going into the prep class. And, personally, based on their track record, I would probably hope that they would shy away from that and go for, more of a straight to the majors kind of a talent.
Sure. I love the Kjerstad pick. I think he would be a whole hell of a lot of fun at Coors Field. As far as the pitchers go, you can't ever go wrong with getting a pitcher in Colorado. I would be a little worried about Cade Cavalli just because he has been a fly ball pitcher previously. And as we know, that is a tough transition in Coors. But any of those other guys, I mean, Slade Cecconi, Emerson Hancock, if any of those guys fell into their lap, I think that would be an excellent pick. Picking at number 9, there's a glut of talent that Colorado could go towards. Is there anyone else that you want to point out? Maybe a wild card, maybe an outlier that you could see Colorado maybe reaching for, maybe underslotting as an excess value there at number 9?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a chance that, they could go that direction. It's funny, there's an arm that I think would fit perfectly in Colorado based upon his batted ball profile and his ability to get strikeouts with a high fastball. And I actually think Tanner Burns wouldn't be a bad option for Colorado, simply because, he can get a ton of ground balls. I think maybe a guy like Carmen Mlodzinski is potentially an option, another guy that can get, a fair amount of ground ball contact. So maybe those guys are options. I don't see him going to the prep, class. I've heard Patrick Bailey mentioned as well, but you're certainly not going to get Bailey under slot at 9. So, I think they're one of these mystery teams. There's not as much information out there. They've never had as many boots in the ground as other organizations have. So just, quite frankly, we don't interact with a lot of their front office personnel, maybe as much as we do with some other teams. So they're a bit of a mystery, but I'll throw some of those college guys out there and figure maybe they stay in this pattern they've been in the last 2 years.
All right, Ralph. Last question I've got for you. You got the pick. Ball's in your court. Who are the Colorado Rockies selecting at number 9?
I would hate to do this, but I think if I'm the Rockies, I want the highest end potential pitching talent that I can get. Um, they always seem to develop on the hitting side. They've done a decent job with some of the pitchers that are in their organizations. Obviously, some of those guys were more ready-made. Some of the trades that Herman Marquez obviously came from the Rays organization. I'd go Mick Abel. I know that's a little bit big. I know we're hearing him dropping, but I feel like this is potentially the most talented arm in the draft. And I don't know. I feel maybe he's got an opportunity to be that guy that could maybe not beat Colorado, but still be somewhat successful. And if I'm that organization, I would always invest my early picks in pitching, just simply because you need really, really talented guys and a glut of it, in order to put together a really good pitching staff and be competitive. Because like I said, they've always had relatively strong, not only defensive teams, but hitting teams. And they still do. I mean, the left side of their infield is as good as any.
Absolutely love the Mick Abel pick. He's my favorite arm in the draft. It's been 18 years since the Rockies have seen a Rookie of the Year, Jason Jennings, 2002. Thanks, Ralph. We'll be back with more.